What haunts someone the most when they walk away? Not the fight you never had. It's the silence they didn't see coming. They thought you'd always be tethered, a loyal shadow chasing their every step, convinced your love was a chain they could snap and still find dangling whenever they deigned to glance back. Most men swallow that lie, see her cold strut and figure she's won, laughing while they crumble. But here's the twist that flips the game. Your silence isn't surrender. It's shattering them in ways they'll never dare whisper. The moment you stop chasing, stop shouting, stop caring, you've already cracked their world wide open. Welcome back to Stoic Spirit, where ancient wisdom forges scars into steel. Today, I'm tearing open 5 brutal truths about why your silence is their undoing. 5 raw stages unfolding behind their mask, showing you how to wield it like a stoic blade to rise stronger than ever. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready to turn the tables, because by the end, you'll watch their chaos burn while you stand unshaken. Let's dive in. Here's the gut punch most miss. They didn't leave to erase you, they left to hear you beg. I've been that fool, pacing at 2 a.m., thumb hovering over her name, thinking one more text would prove I wasn't dust. Dead wrong. She wasn't waiting for my words, she was betting on them. Then Stoicism struck like lightning. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Her trap, her mess. Your silence, it's the spark that torches their illusions." This isn't about petty games, it's about watching their ego fracture while you carve a new you. Ready to unravel their unraveling? Let's roll. Number 1. Silence, the blade they can't parry. First truth, silence is the blade they can't parry. A weapon sharper than any rant you could unleash, a phantom edge slicing through their defenses with surgical grace. They braced for your fury, steeling themselves against a tempest of tear-soaked pleas, your midnight texts spilling hurt like blood on a battlefield, fuel they could twist into ropes to keep you tethered, a puppet dancing on their strings. Words? They've got shields for that. Deflect them with a shrug, argue them into dust, or smirk them away like a petty jab. But silence? It's no mere wall they can't scale. It's a towering fortress of shadow, a gleaming mirror they can't shatter, reflecting back every smug grin they thought would bury you. They swaggered out, chests puffed, certain you'd scramble after them, clawing to prove your worth, your voice a desperate echo trailing their heels. But when you don't, when you give them nothing but a void colder than their coldest scorn, that's when their smug ground quakes, foundations trembling under the weight of their own miscalculation. I've lived this cutting truth. An ex ditched me, smug as hell, her eyes glinting like she'd already won, waiting for my storm to break the sky. I stayed mute, a stone in the gale. Days later, she texted, not even mad, not concern, but a crack splitting her armor, a tremor in her fortress of control. A friend's ex played the same game, tossed him aside, expecting his outburst to roar like thunder. She got silence, a stillness that choked her script. She called, voice jagged, "What's wrong with you?" Her grip wasn't just slipping, it was unraveling, threads snapping one by one. Another guy I know faced her disdain. She sauntered off, betting he'd howl her name into the night. He didn't. She messaged, "You're really quiet." Her throne wobbled as doubt crept in. Silence doesn't play their tune, it snaps their strings, a guillotine dropping without a sound. Epictetus carved it in stone. There's only one way to happiness. Cease worrying about what's beyond your power. Your silence starves their craving for your noise, a feast they can't gorge on, leaving them grasping at air, flailing in a vacuum they can't fill. They can't duel with nothing, dodge a ghost, or parry a blade that never swings. It's power without a clash, a strike they can't foresee. At first, they'll scoff, lips curling, thinking you're just sulking in some corner, licking wounds they carved. Let them. Wait till that scoff curdles into dread, till their laughter chokes on the silence they can't outrun. That's where their fall begins. A descent they built with every step they took away, blind to the edge your quiet has sharpened. Number 2. The unseen cracks, stages they bury. Now let's peel back their facade. Silence doesn't just prick like a fleeting thorn, it shatters them slow, stage by stage, a relentless fracture creeping through the shadows they bury deep beneath their polished masks. It's not a sudden blow, it's a quiet, grinding chisel, splitting their smug shell apart, revealing the chaos they've hidden from the world, from you, from themselves. First, they feel relief, a fleeting triumph as they strut off into the dusk, chests puffed with the certainty your quiet's a gift wrapped in defeat. He's licking his wounds, hunched over in some dim corner. They'll crawl back soon. Their ego purrs like a fat cat basking in the sun, picturing you glued to your screen, fingers trembling over a keypad, waiting for their nod like a dog at the gate. I had an ex like that. Left me cold, bragged to her crew with a smirk. He'll text soon. He always does. She didn't see my silence wasn't a pause. It was a wall, a towering slab of stone she'd never scale, a fortress forged from every wound she'd carved into me over months of disdain. Then curiosity sneaks in, sly and restless as a thief in the night, its whispers slithering into their ears when days stack up like unopened letters. No rants to mock, no sad posts to gloat over. Nothing but a blank abyss stares back. They scroll your feeds in secret, eyes darting across every pixel, hunting for a crack in your armor. Where's the hurt I inflicted? Where's the chase I deserve? A buddy's ex did this. Checked his stories under the cloak of a fake account, whispered to friends over coffee, "He's too quiet, something's off." Another pal caught his ex lurking, her late-night likes on posts from years back, a silent plea for a reaction she'd never get. Next, frustration flares like a fire starved of oxygen. They poke harder, clawing at the void, liking old pics from forgotten summers, flaunting new me selfies with captions dripping bravado, desperate to drag you out of the dark. Another friend's ex posted best life with a grin stretched too wide. He stayed mute, a stone in her storm. She snapped in a call, voice shrill. "Say something, damn it." Her mask wasn't just cracking, it was peeling away, exposing the panic beneath. Then fear creeps in, slow and cold as a winter fog. Is he gone for good? Has someone else slipped into my place? Time stretches like a taut wire, their minds spinning tales darker than any truth you could tell. Imagining you laughing with another, your nights no longer haunted by their ghost. A guy I know saw it unfold. His ex mocked his silence, then texted at 2 a.m., "You're with someone, aren't you?" Her fortress of certainty was crumbling under whispers she couldn't silence. Then regret slams like stone through a glass house. Every forgiveness you offered, every fight you waged to hold them close, replays like a relentless specter they can't banish. A film reel of moments they tossed aside, now looping in the dead of night. She dug up a photo you took years ago, a blurry snapshot from some forgotten dusk, her fingers tracing the edges as if it could summon you back. She stared at it like a relic she'd pawned for cheap, eyes hollow, the weight of every brushed off "I love you" now a boulder on her chest, a treasure she'd traded for pride, only to find its absence carved a hole no smirk could fill. I've heard it from a friend. His ex sneered when he went quiet, then weeks later, her voice broke over the phone. "I didn't know you'd stop." Her pride was a jailer, but her tears betrayed the prisoner within. They won't admit it. Pride locks them in an iron grip, their cool front a brittle shield. But behind that polished exterior, they're splintering, fractures spiderwebbing through the facade they've built to keep the world fooled. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than reality." So we suffer more in imagination than reality. Your silence isn't loud. It's a quiet chisel, patient and unyielding, breaking their illusions, one unseen crack at a time, carving a chasm they can't bridge. Each stage buries them deeper. Not in your pain, but in the weight of their own missteps, a grave they've dug with every smug stride they took away from you. Number 3. Rewriting their tale. You're not who they thought. Now comes the rewrite. Your silence doesn't just sting like a fleeting jab. It rewrites their tale of you, line by line, a slow unraveling of the parchment they'd scrawled with their smug ink, until they stand as strangers to the man they once knew, their map of you curling into ash. They left betting your world orbited them, obedient planets spinning in their gravity. Your pain a flare, your pleas a hymn, every tear-soaked word proof they were the blazing sun at your core. They saw you as their satellite, predictable, fixed, a shadow tethered to their whims. Silence blindsides them, a blank scroll they can't mark, a canvas stripped bare of their arrogant strokes, a void where their brush finds no purchase. Each day you don't text, don't call, don't crumble under the weight they piled on. Their old story of you phrase, threads snapping one by one, a tapestry they wove with certainty, now unraveling into tatters. They pegged you as the one who'd wait, an anchor they could drop and haul back, a fish they could toss into the sea and reel in whenever the tide turned. But silence flips it, a seismic jolt through their script. Maybe he wasn't weak after all. Maybe I never held the reins. I felt this rewrite carve its way through my bones. An ex thought I'd beg forever, her smirk a crown as she walked away, certain my voice would chase her like a whipped dog. I went dark, a shadow slipping beyond her reach. Months later, she messaged, "You're different." Her pen faltered, catching only half the shift, blind to the man I'd forged in the quiet. A friend's ex smirked wider, "He'll cave, he always does," until his silence stuck like a stone in her throat. She asked around, voice tight, "Who's he now?" Her script wasn't just shredding, it was burning, pages curling in a fire she couldn't douse. Another pal's ex laughed off his quiet at first. "He's just licking wounds." Then she started digging, texting mutuals. "What's he up to? He's too calm." Her tale of control was dissolving, ink bleeding into a puddle of doubt. The mind dreads a void, a chasm where answers should be. Did I ever matter? Was I just a passing stop on his road? Every mute second twists a knife deeper, one they wield against themselves, carving questions they can't silence. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on your thoughts. Your silence sets theirs ablaze, a wildfire they can't quench, imagining you healed, free, striding a path they'll never tread." And if this truth is igniting a fire in your chest, if you're feeling the steel of your silence reshape their crumbling tale, hit that subscribe button below. Join Stoic Spirit to fuel more videos like this, forging unshakable strength from the ashes they left. Your support keeps this blaze roaring, carving wisdom for warriors like you. Thank you for rising with us, for wielding this quiet power. They can't fight it. No words to parry, no pleas to mock. They're recasting you, stroke by reluctant stroke, as the prize they lost, not the fool they thought they broke. That's the turn, the pivot they didn't see coming. You're not chasing their fading star, you're rewriting history, a scribe of your own epic, leaving them lost in the pages, clutching a book they can't read. Their tale of you was a throne built on sand. Your silence is the tide, washing it away, leaving them adrift in a sea of their own making, searching for a shore they'll never find. Every unanswered moment is a line scratched out, a chapter closed, a truth dawning too late. The man they thought they knew was a ghost, and the one you've become is a king beyond their grasp. Number 4. Silence that forges you anew. Now here's where silence turns to steel. It's not just holding back like some fragile dam against a flood. It's forging forward, a blazing crucible where you melt down the wreckage they left and cast yourself anew, stronger, sharper, unbreakable. They expect you to shatter, splinters of a broken man spilling your soul across their feet, a desperate howl to prove you're still theirs, still bound by the chains they snapped with a smirk. Crack that quiet, let one pleading whisper slip, and you hand them the whip. Don't you dare. The secret lies here. Silence isn't hollow, a barren echo of what was. It's heavy with your rebirth, a molten core pulsing with the man you're hammering into being. Don't stew in it. Don't sit there simmering in the ashes they scattered. Hit the gym with a vengeance. Let sweat carve your armor. Spill your thoughts onto paper, every stroke a brick in your new fortress. Claw back the you they tried to bury beneath their disdain, the you they thought they'd snuffed out with their cold goodbye. Every lift rips through their old lies. Every word you write is a war cry. Every dawn you greet stronger roars in their deaf ears. I'm not hers anymore, I never was. I've walked this molten path. After she left, her shadow still sneering in my mind. I didn't text, didn't grovel. I trained, steel clanging like a hymn to my own resurrection. She saw me later, eyes wide. You've changed. Damn right I had, forged in a fire she couldn't fathom. A friend's ex waited for his ruin, counting the days till he'd collapse under her absence. He rebuilt instead, a new gig igniting his spark, a new fire blazing in his veins. She called, voice frail, "Miss you." He was past caring, too deep in his own ascent to hear her echo. Another guy I know faced her scorn. She walked off, betting he'd wither. He didn't. He rose, sculpted muscle where weakness once sagged, penned his soul into journals that burned brighter than her fading star. She messaged, "You're not the same." No, he was a phoenix, and she'd missed the flight. Zeno of Citium said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen more than speak." Silence isn't frail when it's shaping you. It's a crucible they can't touch, a forge glowing red-hot with your defiance, hammering out a man they'll never chain again. Let them peek from their crumbling towers, see your glow piercing the dusk, not your grovel staining their boots. Their regret isn't your quiet, it's the titan you're crafting in it, a figure carved from the embers they thought would die out. Don't block them, let them watch, let their eyes strain through the haze as you rise. A silhouette against their sinking sun, each step a testament louder than screams. That's strength, not breaking them with fists or words, but outgrowing them with every silent stride, each breath a bellow, stoking the fire they can't extinguish. They thought they dimmed your light. Your silence is a dawn they'll never darken. A rebirth they'll only witness from the ashes they left behind. Number 5. The break, when silence claims victory. Finally, the break. Silence doesn't just hurt like a fleeting bruise. It claims victory, a coronation forged in the quiet, crowned when they see you're not theirs to call back, a kingdom lost beyond their grasp. It's not week 1, not month 1. No, it's when the scales tip, when they realize you're not waiting in the wings, not aching in the dark, not tethered to their fading leash like some broken beast they once commanded. They thought your quiet was a bluff, a fleeting breath before you'd kneel at their altar, hands outstretched, voice trembling with pleas to pull them back from the abyss they'd leaped into. Weeks stretch like a desert horizon, months stack like stones in a forgotten ruin. No trace of you ripples their stagnant waters, no echo of your once familiar footsteps haunts their hollow halls. That's when their fortress falls, not with a crash of thunder, but with the silent crumble of a citadel they built on sand, its walls dissolving under the weight of a void they can't fill. They scour old texts at 3 a.m., fingers trembling over screens that glow like cold tombstones, chasing the phantom of the you who begged, who bled for them, finding only dust, a relic of a past they can't resurrect, a ghost they can't summon back to bow. I've seen this victory unfold. An ex scoffed at my silence, her laughter a brittle shield, certain I'd crack beneath her scorn. Then she called, voice faltering, I messed up. But I was leagues beyond her, a traveler on a road she'd never map, her echo lost in a wind I no longer heard. A buddy's ex bragged she'd won, her triumph a banner waved high until his silence held like an iron gate. She begged, let's talk, her plea a whisper against a wall he'd long since built. And he didn't budge, his shadow too tall for her to climb. Another's ex mocked his quiet, tossing taunts like pebbles at a titan, then pleaded, I can't stop thinking, through a phone line that rang hollow, too late, her voice a fading ember snuffed by a dawn he'd claimed. A friend I know watched her strut away, betting his world would dim. She called months later, why didn't you fight? But he'd sailed past her harbor, her lighthouse a flicker he no longer needed to navigate by. Marcus Aurelius said, the best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. Your silence? It's not vengeance, it's triumph. A quiet coronation proving you're not the man they broke, not the pawn they moved across their warped board, but a king they'll never reign over again, a ruler of a realm they can't breach. While they cling to fading echoes, their fingers scraping at the ghosts of a past they torched, you're carving a dynasty. Each silent day a brick in an empire they'll never breach, a legacy rising from the rubble they left behind. They huddle in the dim, clutching scraps of what was, voices hoarse from shouting into a void you've long outgrown. You stride bold under a sky they can't darken, a sovereign crafting a reign they'll only glimpse through the dust of their own collapse. They shatter when silence shows you've shed them, not with a shout that echoes through their corridors, not with a clash they could brace for, but with a step into a dawn they can't darken, a sunrise painting a sky they'll never touch. Their fortress of pride, once a towering spire piercing the heavens, crumbles into rubble as they grasp at threads of a tapestry you've burned, a story you've rewritten with every mute stride. They thought they'd dimmed your flame. Your silence is a wildfire, blazing a trail they can't follow, consuming the bridges they torched in their haste to flee. That's the break, not when they hear your absence, but when they feel its weight, a silence so vast it drowns their every echo, leaving them stranded in a wasteland of their own making. So she hoped you'd chase, but your silence shattered her world, snapping her delusions like brittle glass. These 5 truths, silence slashing, cracks forming, tales rewriting, steel forging, victory claiming, they're not your chains, they're her cage crumbling under your quiet might. You're not her echo, you're carving a throne she can't touch. She might claw, might plead, but the Stoic truth cuts deep. You don't need her ruin to rise. Picture it, she's grasping at ghosts while you're building a legacy, untouchable, unbreakable. That's your Stoic flame, blazing a path she can't dim. This isn't her story, it's yours, a legend of a man who turned her exit into his ascent. You faced her noise, her games, and risen not just whole but forged, fierce, free, a titan she can't bind. If this broke your shell, drop I choose me below, show me your steel. Subscribe to Stoic Spirit, we're stacking wisdom to fuel your fire. Share this with a guy still chasing, he needs this spark to break loose. What truth hit hardest? Tell me, I'm here for every roar. Thanks for standing tall, your rise drives this. Stay stoic, stay unshaken, your throne's waiting. See you next time.